Ink-a-dink, 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 ink-a-dink. Wow!
Blessed Sunday morning. Welcome to Basil BuddhaCat Presents, and we're still in the midst of what's turning into an interesting press conference. The Superb Owl pre-game press conference. And Friday night's episode had a little problem called censorship, because you had some reporters here that wanted to ask, well, you know, you've got Bill Belichick, you've got Tom Brady, and you've got Martellus Bennett. And we know it's Martellus Bennett because down at the bottom of the Scrabble board it says Martellus Bennett. Now the guy up at the top of the Scrabble board, President Moloch, is not here, but in his place he sent Steve Bannon. And that's not to be confused with Steve Banner, the guy that used to be the Incredible Hulk, because this guy is, well, he's a little prettier than the Hulk. And he is much nastier than the Hulk, whereas the Hulk would only scream and yell and then take care of bad guys. This guy, Steve Bannon, screams and yells and then takes care of people that are really good people and only want to know the answers to some very simple questions that he doesn't want to answer. So, hence the censorship. It was a scratch, not a pick. See, my finger's down there. Okay. Just in case your mom's watching Basil. And my mom from the hereafter is watching, and my dad from the hereafter. So, here we are. The press conference goes on, and almost like we planned it that way. Okay, it's not Will. A happy Sunday morning, Will. Okay. Will, of course, is Basil's main squeeze. That's M-A-I-N squeeze, and also M-A-N-E squeeze. Trying to get the other Basil's hat adjusted properly. About as proper as it's going to get. And since it's our Sunday morning, it's our more religious-oriented show. We'll repeat the story about Basil passed away, and then a couple years later, Lil passed away, and she was you saw her on the beginning of the show. You'll see her on the end of the show. Oh, you see her. I think you'll see her on the end of the show, but you saw her at the beginning of the show in the photographs. And Lil was a very puffy, Maine Coon looking cat with a big puffy tail, and we named her Lil, tail included, free of charge, because unlike Basil, now Basil's a Maine Coon, but he's got a little stubby tail, not to be confused with the Scratch. And Basil's little stubby tail it's the perfect tail. It was the perfect tail. It still is the perfect tail, but that's the kind of tail he was blessed with. And we don't know whether he actually was born that way, or whether maybe he got caught in the door at Trump Towers and Trump whacked it off and laughed at his spite. You want me to talk about the tweets for a second? Okay. Well, last 2 weeks ago, we had our audio guy, Tweety, up behind the camera. Tweety's up there, Snarky's up there. And of course, up in the hammock, we have Stephen T. Colbert, we have Drew Carey, who's also called, because of the moniker LFFF, and you certainly can't say what that is on Sunday morning. Maybe on the bawdy Friday night show we could say that, but we cannot divulge what LFFF stands for on our Sunday morning show. And also Bill Murray, Bill Murray's been a regular on the show up in the hammock for a long time. And so Lil passed away, and lo and behold, 3 days later, the Calico Cat came back as the Calico Stone. And usually we have the Calico Stone up here on stage, sitting on Basil's Where the Wild Things Are slippers. Shout out to Maury Sendak. And take a drive on the Maurice Sendak Highway in Ridgefield. It's a little stretch of road that's named after Maurice Sendak, who's a marvelous author who lived in Ridgefield, Connecticut. And so Lil came back 3 days later. I guess the cave opened up, and there was Lil, the Calico Cat. 3 days later, would come back as a Calico Stone, and we knew it was Lil because the rock was, you can see, you have to look at the little, you can see where the tail was, you can see where the head was. It was striated, it had Lil's colors, or brown and black and white and gray colors striated through the rock. And it weighed about the same amount as Lil. Big, about this big. Now Lil was this big. The rock was this big. The Calico Stone was this big. But it was Lil, just a little more compressed. So, it is the Sunday of the big game, and here we are, still trying to get through a press conference. And Friday night, we got a call in to start the show from a guy that at first we thought was DJ, which would be Donald J. Trump. Then we thought for a moment that it might have been a guy by the name of O.J. Trump, until he corrected us and reminded us that he just prefers to be called O.J. And he was calling us, I guess, on the prison phone and pleading with us to put a word out for him, for people to call him, write him, come see him, and for gosh sakes, stop hissing at him, because in the prison he is he's amongst mass murderers. You know, he's in the same prison, I think, as Jeffrey Dahmer, the guy that killed and ate kids. He's in the prison where just horrific people are in there. And even they hiss him. He is below them. They don't want to have anything to do with him. They don't want to hear the story about the unarmed, the guy that really killed Nicole Simpson and Ron Brown. They don't want to hear that story. They don't want to hear about O.J. was out in the golf course for 25 years before he finally broke another law and ended up in prison. How he was out on the golf course searching for the real killer of Nicole and Ron. And so O.J. won the first trial. He was acquitted of, he wasn't found not guilty. He just was acquitted. He wasn't found guilty. There's a big difference in American justice. There wasn't apparently enough evidence to convict him, and that was helped out by a couple of police officers that apparently were members of the Schutzstaffel while they were members of the Los Angeles Police Department Detectives Bureau, and also had done some interviews where they used the N-word constantly during the interview, and so their testimony didn't quite hold as much water as it might have if they had been more believable. And it was actually shown that there was a possibility, at least a possibility, that they had planted a glove from the evidence locker, a bloody glove, on site, and then claimed it. They found it afterwards, a couple days later. Well, we found this, and claimed it was had to have been the blood, it was the blood of O.J. Simpson. It had to have been the glove of O.J. Simpson because it had O.J. Simpson's blood on it, which again could have been brought from the evidence locker. And but O.J. turned tables on them. O.J.'s I don't know, had about 47 or 48 defense attorneys that handled his defense, and they could barely fit them all in the courthouse. I mean, there's no room for any spectators because it was just the two prosecutors and 48 or 50 or 55 defense attorneys for Simpson. And they put forth the notion that it couldn't be O.J. Simpson's glove because it wouldn't fit, and dared the prosecution to try it out and check out that theory. Now, Here's the logic behind that. When a glove, especially a glove made out of leather, gets wet from anything, from water, from blood, or anything, it shrinks. It cakes, the blood cakes up on it and it shrinks. But they got smart. They figured, well, let's prove it's his glove. Have him try it on, and his hand was all swollen from slamming the prison wall for days before knowing he was going to have to try on his glove. And they had him, couldn't quite get the glove to go on, and grimaced and acted like it was hurting his hand to put this tiny Donald Trump-sized glove on. And that was part of the reason the case was blown, and he was acquitted. Not found guilty, but acquitted. The preponderance of evidence did not prove beyond any reasonable doubt that he was guilty. So, off to the golf course and hunting down the real killer. But the press conference is about to resume. And you know what that means? It's time for our corporate sponsor, B&M Baked Beans. I know that they canceled out. They wouldn't let CNN ask a question Friday night. They wouldn't let MSNBC ask a question Friday night. But there's some other folks here. Most of them are from Breitbart and Fox, Trump's networks of choice. So here we go. Oh, Breitbart's motto: "We still know Obama's not from America." Okay. And there's evidence coming in any day now that'll show that. Okay. So our corporate sponsor, B&M Baked Beans. And wait a second. Hold on. There's a sticker over part of the label. And I'm trying to peel it off. I got a part of the way off. Because it still says B&M Baked Beans. And I'll read the logo, and then we'll see if we can get some questions out of some remarks out of the players that are up there waiting to be interviewed. 99% fat-free, excellent source of fiber, with molasses, pork, and spices. Okay, they also have a vegetarian version, and they also have a couple other versions. Very good baked beans. Delicious B&M baked beans are slow baked in brick ovens for hours. Our baking method produces beans with a perfect texture and deep flavor unlike any others. Wholesome and healthful. B&M, says B&M here also. B&M beans are sweetened with molasses and cane sugar and are an excellent source of fiber and 99% fat-free. With B&M, you'll enjoy every spoonful going in and coming out. Okay. What, Basil? Basil said, says, see if you can turn up the volume on our microphones and see if we can get some behind the scenes remarks from Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, who we had a conversation with last week. They were in the locker room and they were eating hot dogs and beans. Of course, B&M baked beans, and for some reason we were getting some odd sounds out of them. And again, as I say, it was a behind-the-scenes interview. They said their problems were all behind them. They said they were ready for the Super Bowl, the superb owl. We're not supposed to say Super Bowl, are we? because the National Football League has a copyright on the term Super Bowl. So we cannot say Super Bowl, and would never, ever, ever think of on Basil BuddhaCat Presents, exclamation point, say Super Bowl. So we're going to say Superb Owl, like we're supposed to. Okay. So, waiting for the sounds. Oh, whoa, he says, Basil will translate their sounds into cat, tell them to me, and then I can translate them in a language which you says, no matter who you are, no matter what language you speak, you'll be able to understand these ideas. Okay? Okay, go ahead, Basil. Okay, Basil said, okay, now I'll translate. Okay? And okay, you don't sound. He said, "Well, it's going to sound the same in the same language because it's in both languages because it's universal. So it'll sound the same in cat. It'll sound the same in English. It'll sound the same in Espanol. It'll sound the same en français. It'll sound the same in Thai. It'll sound the same in Vietnamese. It'll sound the same in Portuguese. It'll sound the same in every language, and that's why everyone understands what those words mean. That are coming from around, behind the backstory of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, who had, as we learned Friday night, and last week we found out that he and Tom. Now, our question is, Coach Belichick, and quarterback Brady, and of course Tom Brady, who's named after the Brady Bill because he would never own a gun, at least admit to it, because guns occasionally apparently are useful tools in deflating footballs, and we don't want to hear any more about deflating footballs. So. Is Bannon going to... Oh. He relented. He put the microphone back on. But I noticed that that the wire is cut to the CNN microphone. And I see the wire is cut to the MSNBC microphone. I also see that the wires go into the Breitbart and the Fox News members of the audience of the press corps. Not only are they not cut, but the wire is about this wide, and there's apparently looks like there's iron piping around it. Okay. They don't want to accidentally cut off their microphones, I guess. So we've got, and we're not hearing much from the Atlanta Falcons contingency. They've got their coach, I can't think of his name, and they've got their quarterback. I can't think of his name either. And the Patriots have Bill Belichick. They have quarterback Tom Brady, and they have tight end Martellus Bennett. And we know Martellus Bennett's up there because he's down here at the bottom. His name is spelled out for those who are hearing impaired. And for those who are hearing impaired, we have President Moloch, because he might make a surprise appearance. And he might be making a surprise appearance, but Martellus Bennett has told us, tight end Martellus Bennett of the New England Patriots has told us that if the Patriots win the Super Bowl, and they're invited, as they usually are, the Super Bowl champs go to the White House to meet with the President of the United States. If the Patriots win the Super Bowl and are invited to the White House, which most certainly will happen, if it happens, but Martellus Bennett will not go along. He will not be seen in a press conference, in a news conference, with President Moloch, which is why he's down at the bottom of the board and Moloch is up at the top of the board. They're separated, and that's well enough for both of them, because both of them don't seem to like each other too very much. And President Moloch's list is growing, aren't they? I mean, there's been some amazing... well, we can't talk about that now because because we're doing the Superb Al press conference. Okay, so how are we doing for time? So I'm afraid we're probably going to have a shortened show this morning but before, hold on. There's a question from the New York Times. Okay. And Steve Bannon is saying no. I'm not taking any questions from you guys. You guys are fake news, he said. Breitbart, which espouses things like white supremacy, the Aryan nation, and claims that President Obama was born somewhere else other than the United States. Never could figure out where they thought he was born. Might have been Kenya, they said. It might have been Indonesia. Might have been on another planet. They didn't know. They just knew that he wasn't born here. So, New York Times question, and Bannon's jumping in and he's saying no. He's not taking a question from the New York Times. And that's his prerogative to censor this press conference because he is the he says he's acting as the president of the United States, but apparently Trump's taking a nap for a couple days now, and he's going to come back out for 15 minutes, maybe tomorrow or Tuesday, and pretend to sign some bills that he's pretended to have read. Some executive orders, and see if we can see which constitutional amendment and which part of the Constitution he can break this time. So, no question for the New York Times. Okay, there's also the Washington Post is here. Now, if you recall, during the campaign, during the presidential campaign, the primary campaign and then the presidential campaign. The Washington Post pointed out some things about Donald Trump that were embarrassing at best, despicable at worst, and he described them as being fake news. They're not real because they don't like him. And if you don't like Donald Trump or Donald Drumpf or we still have it. Here's we got this out of Trump Towers. I won't tell how I got it. I won't tell you what room it came out of, but it came out of Trump Towers, and it's a painting of Drumpf, and we know it's real because first of all, it looks just like him. Okay, and second of all, it says $20,000 on it, and that's what the Trump Foundation paid to have this fine work of art done, which was until we got a hold of it, was hanging in the Drumpf Towers at Central Park South. Okay. I'm going to hold on to this. It might be worth something someday. It won't be worth $20,000 like what was paid for, but who knows? Could bring 50 cents or a buck one day. I mean, it must have taken at least a minute and a half to do. So a lot of work went into this thing, and maybe half the ink in a magic marker. So, Washington Post, the question. Steve Bannon said, first of all, don't ever compare me to Steve Bannon, because I'm not as ugly as the Hulk. And also, no question from Washington Post. Basil, we're going to have to get in one more commercial, and then I guess the press conference is over. Everybody's leaving. Nobody asked a question about the game. Nobody asked a question about what the New England Patriots had for their pregame dinner. But we know that, and B&M baked beans, BM baked beans, original baked beans, 99% fat-free, excellent source of fiber. And if you don't trust us, then get behind Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and take a deep, long whiff. This has been Basil BuddhaCat Presents on an abbreviated show because of an abbreviated Superb Al press conference. And God bless, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we shall see you next Friday night with with a show that's more than 20 minutes long. Bless. God bless.
They say they'd rob your grandma blind on Wall Street, on Wall Street. Fritter her away her Medicare on Wall Street. And Pharma Oil and their pet fox don't care if she lives in a box, so long as they wear platinum jocks on Wall Street, on Wall Street. Meow.